So guys, we're back. Gonna be seeing what destroyed them. It wasn't some catastrophic event that first spelled out their demise. First time they talked seriously about the end of their lives. Came from a calm observation. It was during this part of R&D month in the 33rd year after they emerged from the void that Neo was putting the final touches on his invention for Innovation Day. Most months he spent away from the lab, either sleeping in another corner after construction was done for the day, or in a long, engrossed role-playing campaign. It felt nice on occasion to be back in his old lab, nearly unchanged by time, to work on a scientific project. Working and toiling on this average day. He heard a knock on his door. Hold on, let me just cover this. No peeking. Okay, come in. Ah, Lana. What's up?
Hey, Neil. Not too much. Well, okay, that's all right. Hey, this might seem pretty random, but there's something I want to ask you about. Have you noticed anything odd about the tank lately? Anything that's never happened in the entire time you've been living here?
What do you mean? I'm guessing by the tone of your voice, you're not talking about the stadium pillars that the kids ran through yesterday, huh? Hey, the drink has been feeling a little cold to me lately. Maybe we'll start to finally have seasons. I mean, we've been living here for ages now, and there hasn't been a single wind of winter. How nuts is that?
I'm serious, Neil. Why don't you come with me and I'll show you what I mean, or I'm talking about. Try to guess what you're gonna say.
The way Lana looked today, her expression this morning, it was especially troubling. It was an expression Neil hadn't seen in quite some time. But whatever was happening, Lana did not present herself as though this were a dire state of emergency. She led him into a patch of land that he was very familiar with. They'd harvest plants from this spot half 1,000 times, and at the very least... Did I read that wrong? No, not the load button. The log button. I pressed it. Oh. So plants from this spot half 1,000 times, at the very least. Oh, I just kind of read it in the wrong tone. But while viewing the spot today, Neo thought he was imagining things. A piece of his tongue caught in his throat, and he coughed lightly.
See?
Yes. If this is true, then that certainly is odd. The outer perimeter of this spot, where plants had been growing widely for as long as they could remember, the area was starting to recede, ever so slightly. It was hard to tell from those who might not have for those who might not have been as intimately acquainted with this patch as they were. But there were less plants growing here than ever before. That was a fact. Well, something like this. I'm not sure I have expected it to really happen. I suppose I was wrong. Our plants are not endlessly renewable after all. But they have lasted a vast amount of time though, haven't they? For that, I am very grateful. I suppose it's possible that one day they might all disappear, if this small dry patch is any indication.
Yeah, I came to the same conclusion. Don't hate me, Neil, but it took me a few days to come and see you about this.
Huh? Why?
I didn't know how you'd react. It's been so long, so tremendously long, since we've had any form of change. I've just been nervous about reopening old wounds.
I'm not mad at all. After all this time, you know that you can come to me with whatever you want to talk about, right?
Oh, I know.
So, what do you think about this?
I've been giving it a lot of thought, actually. And, well, things are gonna be a lot less fun in here without new materials to work with, aren't they?
That's true. I said this before, but the plant's versatility is what transformed this place into a paradise for me.
Me too. We've had a lot of fun over the years, haven't we?
No, I've had a miserable time. 0-10 would not recommend.
Oh yeah, miserable, huh? Alright, Neil. I'm gonna ask you a question. And I want your honest, unfiltered opinion on the matter. What do you think would happen if we went into the void?
They lived their lives for decades together, yes. They talked about everything under the sun. Almost everything. But this was a sensitive topic, not brought up much because of the implications it held. Well, there's a couple of different possibilities. The first, the one which I felt in my gut so long ago, was that we'd cease to exist. That's the simplest explanation. But with what happened to our friends 50 years ago, and those messages, perhaps that is not the case. Of course, we know that axolotls do not die from merely being sent into the void. But that last message damn near stamped into my skull. If you want to die, if you want your soul to be erased, and your mind ripped apart from the seams, you can step into the void. It will kill those of you who are not chosen. Who knows if this RV person is still alive, though. It might be that he died a long time ago. Maybe there's someone else outside the void now. We still have no idea how this world of ours works. Not really. And if that message is true, then that will... Alright. That will die if we step into it. Well, I guess we'd be tempting fate, wouldn't we? So maybe we run... God, I'm just talking. Alright. So, maybe we run into Ubby. Maybe we don't. It certainly would be an adventure, though. Wouldn't it?
It would. It might be wishful thinking. But what if we could find out the truth about it once and for all? For a long time, I just wanted to live a peaceful life with you guys. And we did. And it was wonderful. But those old age questions, the one you've been talking about since the very start, I've grown curiouser and curiouser over the years. What if we could find out the truth of those old secrets?
Well, you know me. That'd be a dream come true. So, tell me, Donna. What's with the question? Really?
It's just a thought, that's all.
Really? Is that your just a thought base? Are you forgetting what you said to me just a moment ago?
Okay. You know what I'm thinking, then? You know what I'm about to ask?
He looked at her carefully, and then he smiled. I'm ready. Whenever you are. We've lived long, fulfilling lives. I've done everything I've wanted to do. Created most of the things I wanted to create in here. Ages ago, I would have been frightened beyond my wits to enter the void myself. But now I'm ready. I'm ready for the next adventure. As long as you're with me. Whatever that may be, beyond the curtain. The stress left her face completely now. She now understood that Neil was on the same page as her.
Well, it's not like it hasn't absolutely...
Wow.
It's not like it hasn't been absolutely wonderful living here with you and Axie for so long. But, like you said, I feel very fulfilled with everything. Although, we don't have to leave right now, you know?
Of course not. We could have a whole 5 years going away party, and I suspect we shall. And besides, we should run this by Axie first.
Wanna go now? The least we could do is tell him that the grass is starting to dry up.
Let's go. Axie was in his old corner, doing his own planning for the holiday in a modest house he had built from himself many years back. Knock knock.
I know this isn't for work, but we've come to pay you a visit. There's something we'd like to talk to you about.
Sup, fools? Thought you guys would be busy with the holidays so close and all. What gives? They led him to the patch of grass and showed him the discovery they made.
And so, I don't know. It feels like we should at least consider that option.
Really? The void? You give up all of this, our perfect lives together, just to jump inside the void? Are you nuts? Chill, man. It was just an idea. Besides, it doesn't have to be anytime soon. Have you forgotten? I've been in the void. It's not somewhere you want to go. The void is one of those things I'm likely to never forget. I still wake up and sweat thinking about it sometimes. It's that awful. My mind instinctively screams no whenever the void is brought up. I think I understand what you're talking about, actually. I still haven't forgotten that feeling of it either. All those times I got close to it. I could feel myself slipping away too. But in the worst case scenario, is slipping away so bad? After the long, wonderful lives we've lived. And we're not talking about doing anything rash anytime soon. We know from what happened that the void isn't the end of all life. All life forever. Perhaps it won't be the end for us either. Maybe it's a little like that roller coaster we built 20 years ago. You were so scared to go on it at first, but once you did, you had a great time and couldn't stop. I don't know. I've pondered it over and over, on and off throughout the years, and it feels like the void might be the inevitable conclusion to our lives here. I don't think it's the end though. Don't let your heads get too big now, but I like you guys too much for this to truly be the end for us. There are other places I want to experience before I die. I'd like the tank to be a wonderful, long chapter in our lives, but not the whole thing. Nah, you agree with him, don't you? That we should consider going in there.
Well, Alessio, like Neil said, things don't have to end now. We can end things on our own terms. I can't guarantee anything about what happens when we step foot in there, but I doubt it's the end. We're just going on a new adventure. It's a gamble, I guess.
And I've never been one for gambling. Are you forgetting that poker game in 26 where you bet your own corner on a bluff and lost? Axie had a furious face on.
Of course, neither of us would make you come with us if we decide to go. That being said, I don't know. It'd feel so odd if we did something that nature without you by our side.
And also, kind of abandon him for the rest of eternity. And then kind of force him to go.
We're all big one family, Axie.
I agree with Lara. It would be weird, but neither of us would want to make you do something you didn't want to do. The triplets?
Well, we've never had to take care of them even once. Although, with the plants disappearing, the food source is being drained. I wonder though, if you really even need the food to live. The few of us can eat plant-made food as well, and that suffer too. But we don't need it for sustenance.
I doubt we could drag the three of them into the void with us, even if we had to. We've tried to get a hold of them before, and it's never worked out. They definitely struggle and get free, and it wouldn't be pretty. So you would be content with leaving them here alone, forever and ever.
Axie.
No, Axie. I'm sure we'll come up with something. What's up, dude? Doctor's alright. I'm just not ready, alright? I'm not ready to go in. I'm not certain, and I'm certainly not ready to be alone either. Does it have to be this way? Certainly not right now. Look, there's still plenty of plants, and from now on, we'll be really careful about how we use them. But we can't stop the triplets from eating. And in a couple of years, when the tank is more devoid than it is now, maybe then, I'll go into the void. I won't force you to go, but I hope you'll be able to make peace with my decision by then. I'm sorry about this, Axie. If, when the time comes, the void is a sliding door, then certainly I'll come back.
We'll bring food for the kids too. We've got to do something after all.
You can't go in, Nana. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to accept that. He glanced at Lana, then hopped away. He can't make your choice for you.
I know. But this sucks, doesn't it? It's been so long since there's been a rift between us.
I need to read those slower. Once upon a time, Axie may like the void. Maybe. May have even found it pretty. But the longer he stayed in the tank, the more he grew to despise it. It was the one thing that could tear away his precious life. His precious Lana. His precious Neo. His home. Whenever he was feeling down, or angry, or sad, or annoyed, his thoughts always turned to the void. The day when Neo made him enter it, so many years ago when he was young. It had played over and over in his mind. Going into the void would result in nothing but a scary death. He wouldn't allow his wonderful friends to die that way, no matter what. The void was evil. Even the holidays he had once enjoyed, the ones which focused on the void, had become unsettling to him. He wished the void would just go away, once and for all. Then, there would be no way to leave the tank. Lana and Neo, on the other hand, began talking things over in earnest. In that time, they developed a new sense of kinship that was only between the two of them. They talked vividly about the day that life in the tank would change again. They talked not of death, but of adventures to come. But nobody wanted to disturb the peace of the heaven they had created. The heaven that was only possible because the three of them had forged it together. The heaven that was slowly starting to feel like hell. A few more years passed by. Although there wasn't a conflict between the three of them, on the surface, the days didn't feel the same as they once had. In their last few years in the tank, time itself felt like it moved much slower than the years when they were enjoying life. There was a blanket of anxiety over nearly everything they did. They celebrated the holidays in the months of Hutsa, Auxiliary, R&D, Beautification, and Gats Runway, all without fault. On the surface. But the difference between these time periods was stark. No matter how much they tried forcing it, the events were never as jovial and full of wonder as before. The magic of the Golden Age had come and gone, and all they were doing now was grasping for the little bit of pixie dust left behind. There was a cloud hanging over them, even as they did the most mundane activities together. Every word they spoke, every fun conversation they had, every game they played, and every invention they worked on together was now polluted by that intangible tension. It wasn't as though Neo and Lana loved Axie any less. They just wanted him to understand their feelings. They wanted him to accept their decision, to move on, and seek out someone new. They were growing wary of the same life. The plants, too, began to wither up, as Neo had predicted. Even the new rationing system they came up with couldn't stop the plants from drying up. And their bodies, They were starting to break down, too. Not from old age, but from something even worse. The uncertain dread loomed and festered over the tank for a few years. And slowly, but surely, they began lacking in plants to do maintenance on structures they had already created. The supply of plants to work with was peanuts compared to what had once been. And, as a result, the projects which had before been so intensive dwindled in complexity as well. Eventually, Innovation Day was cancelled as a whole. It felt like the tank was somehow losing its life. And the two who were willing to move on to the next stage of their existence realized that fact separately. If it was not for their love of Axie, they would have made a move much sooner than they did. Neo and Nana got together several nights, talked for hours, optimistically, about their futures. Sometimes they felt guilty, as if by having these feelings, they were somehow betraying their friend. But the grander picture had been stretched too thin. They reassured one another that there must be better times ahead. You know, it's not like life is so much worse than before. But things have changed. I don't fall asleep content anymore. I don't wake up with a smile on my face, ready to make the most of the day. And it's not something I can just wish away either.
I know what you mean. Things feel sort of dismal these days. It feels like lately, when we all hang out, all I'm doing the whole time is forcing myself to act happy. I feel more like a crappy actor than an axolotl these days. Not even the lack of points or the tension between us that's bothering me either. I've been getting these awful headaches too.
Headaches, huh?
Yeah, for a while now. I thought they'd just go away on their own, but they've been getting worse.
Neo felt a shiver run down his spine. And all the time they had been here together, headaches had never been a normal thing. And he too felt like his body hadn't been acting optimally for some time lately. He tried to ignore it, like she had, blame it on the stress or whatever, but Ivana was feeling something too. Now that you mention it, I've been feeling kinda dizzy these days too. Exhausted, maybe. The old nightmares I used to have, they've returned too. Due to that, I'm waking up in pain these past few months. It feels like I haven't gotten a good rest in some time.
You haven't been sleeping well? Oh, Neo. I haven't been sleeping so good either, actually. It feels like no matter how much rest I get, I wake up feeling like crap. It's never been like this before.
Well, let's do what we've done with every problem we've ever experienced in Tank. Analyze things objectively and come up with a solution. We've all slept in different places in the tank over the years. Do you happen to have a specific area where you sleep better?
Honestly, the big bed in my corner is where I sleep best. But only when we sleep in there together, as a family. I always wake up really refreshed whenever we've spent a night there together.
I was hoping you'd say that, because I feel the same way. Something about that place is so peaceful. It's been a while since we've all cuddled up together and slept home. Nearly half a decade, if my count is right.
Yeah, I've missed it.
It had once been a normal occurrence, but sleeping in the bed together had become somewhat of a special tradition. When they slept together there, it was always after naturally passing out at the end of a particular memorial day, such as the ending of one of their long role-playing campaigns. Without even realizing it until now, the bed had been a part of their most wholesome moments. The three axolotls cuddled and fell asleep together. There several times over the years, but had always been the three of them. Want to try taking a nap?
I guess. But it might be weird doing this without Axie.
Yeah.
Then again, these days it might be weirder to do this with him. He sure kept to his own lately, huh? Probably not too much fun without plants to work with.
Yeah, I hope he's doing okay. It's not like I don't love him, but...
No, you don't have to say it. I understand. I still love him too.
So what are we waiting for? Let's try to de-stress and get some sleep for once. Oh, he is not gonna like it when he finds them sleeping together, dude. Chill out and start things over with a refreshed mind once when we wake up. Doesn't that sound nice?
Don't sound too caring now. You don't want to steal my style.
He smiled. They felt each other's warmth and closed their eyes. But after 2 hours of lying there, Nana spoke up.
Nothing, huh?
Nope. I'm wide awake too.
I've been thinking. Maybe the headaches I have aren't coming from the stress, or the lack of sleep specifically. Is it just me, or has the water felt kind of heavy lately?
The water? I haven't really been paying attention. Because he hadn't consciously realized it, Neo didn't know until now. He just tried to swim forward, and in that moment, he could feel a pinch of exhaustion strike him, right at his core. That was weird. He'd been feeling odd, surely, but this amount of exhaustion was unreal. Was his body starting to lose strength? He felt sick, all over. There was nothing he wanted to do more than lay down again. In fact, it felt like his body was begging for him to do so. You're correct. The water, the air, the atmosphere, something feels heavy. This isn't right. I've been in here too damn long, and I know this body too damn well.
I think it is time that we talk to him.
Yet, as they turned around, they saw Axie already there. Sleeping.
Oh, hey, Axie. You and I weren't feeling so well, so we tried getting some sleep.
I see.
So, Axie, we were wondering, how do you feel today? Right now?
How do I feel? You could say he's looking a bit pale. God, I'm a narcissist. Laughing at my own jokes. What do you mean?
Well, a moment ago, you and I, well, talking about we hadn't been feeling so great lately.
I feel fine. Are you sure? Yep. It's just another day, and I feel fine. But it wasn't normal. And you could see that his skin, which is always vibrant and full of color, looked off and dull today. I knew something terrible was going on, even if Axie himself had been trying his best to ignore it.
You might be fine, but you and I have been experiencing some very odd sensations lately. It's like we want to do things, but we can't. We're extremely tired, but no matter how much we sleep, we still wake up exhausted. It feels like a weight is being slowly lifted onto my chest, and I have no idea how it even got there in the first place.
Yeah. For me, it's like 60 years of aging, all hit at once. But if we were aging, we'd have a different appearance, I think. I don't want to feel old and weary.
There's a fog around us. We might not be able to see it yet, but it's all the same.
Alright, that's it. Just for the sake of posterity, that I believe you. About this fog or whatever. What would cause a fog to suddenly form? We've been living in this tank for ages now. Ages and ages. What could have changed now? Nothing. Nothing has changed. Y'all are overreacting. Whatever might be happening to you guys, it's just a small bump. I'm sure everything is going to go back to normal soon.
I don't think it's sensible. We can't just wish away this weight in our chests. I think it's starting to make us really sick. You remember, William, don't you?
Yeah. But William was the only one sick. Not us. What you just said a second ago. There has been a change in the tank. Follow me. Just as he thought, just as he feared. The P.15 was drying up completely, and the plants were withering away with it. There were only remnants of what had bloomed there before. I'm starting to see a correlation. This is the only idea, but maybe all this time, the plants have been keeping us alive. It seemed like a likely explanation to Lana too. Actually, she had thought the same things many times in the past.
Could the plants have been cleaning the water in the tank? Is the whole reason we are alive in the first place because of these wonderful plants?
I see. Now the plants. Our filter system is dying out. And along with them, so will we. Actually stepped up. If this theory of yours is really true, then how do you explain that? He gestured towards the direction of the void. It was a single hour of the day where the triplets were awake. They zigzagged and weaved through the buildings, swimming erratically at top speed. Why are they being affected by this so-called lack of energy? This weight of our rain, or fog, or whatever. Well, who knows? There could be a lot of reasons. They might not be affected because they're too young. It could be because they eat plants on a regular basis. Even if we're all axolotls, the triplets have always been a very different than us. They don't have the same needs as us, and they live a very different life from us. Maybe if we make the kids stop eating the plants, then they might grow. Then they might grow back. You ever think of that? I can't say for sure, but I don't think that'll work either. The triplets have already proven they're too fast for us to control. And besides, we don't know if they need those plants to live or not.
This patch may be drying up, but we may be experiencing some terrible symptoms. But there's still enough plants in the tank, with them at least, to live on for a very long time.
Look, just give it some time, you guys. Things will go back to normal somehow, I'm sure. They always have. Just don't do anything weird, alright? Actually swam off and left them alone. With that, the gap between the three of them widened even more. The days which had once been so precious now became dreadful to get through. Lana and Neo felt helpless. They loved Axie too much to do anything. So for a while, they pushed themselves. For the next 3 months, they pushed themselves out of the bed and tried to attend their regular activities. But at night, they suffered silently. They held on for his sake. Leaving the tank didn't seem right without being on the good terms with Axie. And, while he frequently kept himself in the last few months, at least he seemed to be doing okay. They, on the other hand, were having the worst time of their entire lives. Their bodies began to get weaker each day. They would swim less, they were talking less, and the insomnia was horrifying. Even though they hadn't eaten, their stomachs began to rumble and weigh down on them, and their throats began to hurt in kind. Their minds, their thoughts, their ideas, their communication skills, which they had taken for granted, all began to fade as well. Construction? That was completely out of the question. Swimming itself soon became a luxury. Some days they could only make it a couple of feet away. Other days they couldn't even leave at all. Axie avoided them on those dead days. More and more they sat hunched over the lab, unable to move, unable to think correctly. They started to shiver. The water wasn't this cold, was it? With their throats hurting, their backs and stomachs aching, they could only imagine someone was trying to choke them, slowly, allowing them just enough air to live, but not enough for anything to qualify as life. Then started the hallucinations. They imagined someone was watching them. They attempted to comfort each other, but even that didn't work. One day, they stared at each other, each realizing that they didn't have the strength to speak. But for most of the time, they were reduced enough to talk. In hushed whispers, when they had the strength to communicate, they decided upon a plan. The day of the plan approached quickly.
Neil, I think it's time.
The days had been agonizingly slow lately. They were even starting to lose perspective on how great the Golden Age truly was. But actually, oh, that was a weak sounding cough. We haven't decided on what we should do. Do we drag him in there with us?
Even if he doesn't realize it, soon enough, he'll be just as sick as we are. But if he really doesn't want to come, we'll just have to find a solution from inside the void and bring it back to him.
Hey, one more question, Nana, while I have the energy. It's about that feeling that we're being watched. Do you still feel it too?
Yeah, a little. But it's got to be a delusion.
Neil felt like the weaker he got, the more likely it was that a bloodthirsty eye would pounce out of nowhere and take him away. Was something like that in the tank the whole time, and they never noticed? That just wasn't possible.
The time to act is now. I'd rather take my chances jumping into the void than deal with another second of this.
If we die, then we'll die. But I want to live. I'll fight as hard as I can for that chance. I've been thinking a lot about Liam lately too. Is what we're experiencing similar to what happened to him all those years ago?
Maybe. I miss him more than ever. And the suffering he went through probably makes ours look like kittens on a rainy day.
It's not fair to compare suffering, Mama. Man, he'd have loved everything we made in this thing. All the buildings, the amusement centers, the inventions.
I was scared of forgetting about him at the past. But these two, Liam and Hank, they're unforgettable.
So is the other character. So is that other character. Even if I've never seen his face. The one who calls himself Albie.
The one who promised to take you home, huh? The tank was my home, but I'd like a new home now.
Gather up your strength. Our last swim is close. It was finally time to enter the void. They were well aware that they were dying, and they would risk their last remaining moments on the gamble of a lifetime. If they were able to enter through the void freely, then they would come back to help Axie and the triplets. The lack of clean water wasn't prejudiced. Eventually, it would get them too. Before everyone succumbed to the sickness, they needed to help them. They would save everyone. That was their hope, anyway. Good thing they told Axie about this, huh? So, this is it, huh? They took in the sights one last time. It was a huge toll for them to be talking out in the open waters. But despite their body's protest, this was something they knew they had to do. The layout of the tank had changed drastically throughout the years. They had built it up from nothing and turned it into a grand city, and then smashed the city down a number of times to try a different look. But even if the tank had seen a number of aesthetics in its time, what they saw now could only describe as a mess. Even if many of the buildings were starting to decay, these were still the remnants of some fairly impressive looking structures. To say farewell was hard. The plants had allowed them to focus their willpower to create nearly anything they had ever dreamed of.
I'm a little biased.
Jeez.
I think you, me, and Axie, the three of us, we did a pretty great job in here.
What are you gonna miss the most?
Well, I always like pretending right to shop. Do you remember that time when you and Axie built an entire bouquet for me in total secrecy?
Yeah, that sure was a pain, hiding it from you in all those months, making up excuses and pretending to do other things.
You led me to the mall while I was blindfolded for what I said was in the game. Surprise! It was quite the shock, I had no idea you guys had been planning something for so long. You two treated me like a VIP. Told me I could pick any 2 items in the shop and keep them forever. It was a small touch, but I really liked how you guys didn't let me keep everything. It made the 2 items I did keep seem special. For me, that day stands out as a wonderful memory. It was so sweet. So incredibly sweet. You guys went through that much trouble just to give me a special day for no reason.
I know. You did equally impressive things for me. And the 2 of us together did equally impressive things for Axie.
Let me ask you then. What was one of your favorite moments?
Geez, there's too many to pick, really. Do you remember the wizard back here?
Well, of course. That campaign was one of the best we've ever had.
Yeah. We've had a long role-playing adventures over the years, but that one really had it all. Betrayal, romance, action, long developing plots and mysteries. The payoff in the end was amazing. A good story is something incredible. That campaign succeeded in immersing me in a whole different world. It was fun a couple years. It was a fun couple years thing. Picking the class with you 2 really was something special.
It almost makes me wonder what happened after the end of the demo.
Yeah. We worked on the campaign so long, sometimes I forgot it was based on the old VR demo. But I mean, it was only the basis and setting. Everything else we just made up along the way.
The Hero Thief and the Lowly Hero. I remember they had some cameo appearances too.
Yeah, I only brought them in as NPCs. But there was that one time they were part of an important subplot. Remember? Looking around, it's hard to wrap my mind around all the priceless experiences we've had in here. They're just too many to count.
Let's get going, Neil. While we still can swim.
She held out her hand and took it. She held out her hand and he took it, and together for the last time, they walked towards the void. They swam slowly. Not just because their bodies ached, but because they were taking in all the familiar sights along the way, trying to etch them into their memory, just in case they were unable to return. It needs to be said, they did not look for Axie, because they knew exactly where he'd be. Axie. Axie, we love you. You know we do. But we've given you plenty of warning, and now it's time. Our buddies aren't going to last much longer here. But we'll come back as soon as we're able to. We'll save you and the triplets. I don't need saving. The kids don't need saving.
What?
Neither of you need to go into the void. I'm telling you, just wait it out. Don't do something stupid.
Withering and dying here would be the stupidest thing to do. We've got to struggle. Put up a fight. We don't know what's in the void. Not really.
How many times do I have to tell you? It's only madness and death in there.
I don't think so. Not if Ankle's able to come back from it. Look, even if it's just death, we've got to take a shot. The shot.
I won't let you. Make a deal with me. 1 week. We can't do that either. Our bodies and minds are barely holding on as it is. It's now or never. Then I guess it'll be never.
Actually, no.
You especially, Lana. Definitely not you.
Oh, huh. I thought the obsession you had for me went away centuries ago.
Axie's in your face did not falter. Even at a joke. I love you, Lana. But if you die, then it feels like I just might die too. You're more important than even my own life. If there's one thing that would motivate Axie, it was Nana's safety. All those years ago, when Enk and Axie had their first struggle, it wasn't specifically Enk beating Lana that caused Axie to blow up. It was when N convention throwing Lana into the void. That was what caused his anger to be unleashed. And even though it'd been a while, this same sword of madness crept up again on him again, giving him power. I will never let you do it. Actually charged toward them, and at once the pair braced for impact. Actually, stop it. We can't waste energy fighting amongst ourselves. But Axie knew. He would rather knock them unconscious and let them into the void. There's two of us. We'll overcome you. The fact that the two of them were winning, despite their weakening state, said it all. It was clear that it was clearer than ever to them that Axie had been suppressing his own sickness. They felt his body breathing heavily and his strength weakening. It didn't look like this would be a long struggle. Neo and Nana were just about to break through.
Axie, I promise this doesn't change anything. One little fight doesn't mean anything.
We've had fights before. All of us. This is just another one for the books. When we meet next, we'll talk about this and make up, as we always have. And a cacophony of coughs. All their painful explosions of air mixed together. Neo felt his chest heaving up and down, threatening to explode. But the tug of war was soon to be over, and Axie had begun to realize his defeat. I won't let you guys die. What will I do without you? You have to trust us, Axie. After all this time, haven't we earned your trust? But then, Nana and Neo were pushed back by an unexpected force.
What the?
Wow, what the hell is that? Standing next to Axie were three figures. The triplets. Rhea and Lee.
Yeah.
Kids, this is not a game. But even if they had been a game, the kids had never joined in before. So why now?
Right, darlings. Just know that we're in big trouble if we don't enter the void. We're doing it for your sakes too, so you'll have to move out of the way for now.
I'm sorry we didn't get to say goodbye to you guys. But it's not a real goodbye. We'll be back soon. All of a sudden, they, along with Axie, ran into the two weak Axolotls with incredibly strong force. It was now 2 versus 4. Nana and Nia knew they didn't stand much of a chance against these odds. I don't get it. They've ever acknowledged us before. Why are you guys pushing against us? It's because they can't stand to see you kill yourselves either.
No, it's the opposite, kids. We'll die if we stay here. Neo, at this rate we're going to lose. But we can't give up. We've got to keep fighting with everything we've got.
It wasn't a fair match. The three triplets were much stronger than they looked. Even if Lana and Neo had been at their full strengths, the triplets could have easily overpowered them. So in this state, they had no chance. Neo and Lana were thrown back, huffing and puffing.
Why? Where are you?
No. No escape. So close. Become. Optimal conditions have become unoptimal. Neo was doing his best to fend off Axie, but he could do nothing for Lana, who was surrounded. It is time that you become us. The three of them grabbed onto her weakened legs. 2 on one leg, and 1 on the other. And they pulled. Oh. There was a loud crack as she winced in pain. She let out a deafening scream. What? Neo and Axie stopped fighting for the second they heard the crap. The kids had, in a matter of seconds, torn the legs cleanly off her body, and a stream of blood floated through the water, muddying everyone's vision. What the hell? I didn't want... What? They tossed her off to the side, and Neo ran as fast as he could, heaving to get her. You guys, I don't get it. Useful before. Useless now. No! Nana! 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 Get away from Nana! Neo? What the hell is going on? Was this your plan all along? His mind was racing. He had no time to piece things together. He saw Neo helping an unconscious Nana a few meters away. Still breathing. At least right now, Axie could see she was still breathing. The void was wide and towering. Thankfully, there were many ways to enter through it. Neo limbered, and grasping Nana made it even harder to swim. He still went as fast as he possibly could, heart pounding. Despite Axie shoving against him, despite the triplets ripping off Lana's limbs, it looked like they might get into the void after all. There needs to be a way to save them. But the triplets were, if nothing else, fast swimmers. Possibilities unfolded quickly in Axie's mind. If the triplets got there first, then that would be it. They had lied to him. Their plan was to keep them here, so what? That didn't matter. The only thing that mattered right now, the only thing that made any sense, was to save Lana and Neo. He had to swim. Swim. It was a mad sprint. He had to get there first. If he didn't, then his family would die in a matter of seconds. When they saw him swimming alongside them, the triplets split up. Two went to go after Neo and Nana. I one stayed to take care of Axie. It was and I'm away. Axie charged forward, slamming into tumbling them both further along the path. And sunk his teeth into whatever body part was nearest him, which happened to be Axie's tail. Axie's immediate instinct was to wince in pain, but his body let out a cough instead. But then, he grit his teeth. If you want my tail so bad, then take it. It was a lucky thing that Ed had bit into his tail, and not another part of his body. With the strength of Axie's legs pushing him off of Ed's head for the momentum, he charged forward, the tip of his tail being shredded off in the process. The momentum he had gained from being pushed was worth any amount of pain. It let him reach his family a moment sooner. He was moving fast, but not fast enough. He could see up ahead that Rhea and Lee were almost there. Nana! She's going to really die because of me. That's not very certain, Axie. There's nothing more I can do, is there? In this very moment, she's not dead. You still have time. And you still have energy. You've won almost every single race you've ever had in the sink. You even beat the triplets once, didn't you? They're already there. One lost race has never stopped you. You always challenge whomever is beating you again and again. I don't care about the damn race. I care about Nana. Now move out of my way. Lana, Neo, and Rhea. That's a lot of ands. Lana, Neo, and Rhea and Lee all stood in front of the void. Rhea and Lee had already had a firm grasp on Neo and Nana. All would have been lost if not for Axie's momentum. He gave it his all. He pushed and wheezed and gasped and ultimately charged into them as hard and fast. Somehow, this was enough to move all 4 of them. No, all 5 of them, with Axie included, into the cascading void in front of them. In that brief second, as they hurled towards their uncertain futures, Neo and Axie made eye contact. Thank you, Axie. We love you. Please, come with us. I thought we could, but I was wrong. We won't be able to do this without you. Neo had spent decades wondering about the void, theorizing, yearning to know more, and at last he dissolved into it, Alana in his arms. Axie looked around. He too had fallen into the void, but he hadn't disappeared as Neo and Nana had done. It was the spitting image of that day, so long ago. Everything around him was nothingness, and his immediate reaction was panic. He quickly realized he had dragged the 2 triplets in. He had dragged the 2 triplets in here with him as well. Despite his aching, despite his total exhaustion, Axie began fuming. How could you? How could you lie to me?
Axie, we didn't want to reveal ourselves just yet, but now we've got to. We remember the void, and if Lonnie and Neo were to go into it, something terrible is going to happen. Please don't hurt them. Please don't let them hurt themselves. You have to promise. As someone who has been in the void, you know just how horrifying it is to be there.
God, they can't do both.
It's a fate worse than that. It's a miracle that we made it in you. Yes, you're right.
I can't get these voices.
I did used to be angry, but I changed. Thanks to the love you've given me. And I'm William. Thank you for building all those wonderful things for me, Axie. Just like you said. Just like you thought. I've adored them. Please keep our identities a secret from me. We'll reveal ourselves when we're ready. We trust you, Axie. We trust you to save our family.
That was all an lie, wasn't it? You guys weren't Ancordium. So who are you? Counterintelligence. A cancer. The cure. No. Wear toenail clippings. That's it. I don't understand. Why are you hurting us? Much easier. But the tank is already near death. So RB will have to make a choice. Come. They went towards him, and Axie backed away. All alone, cornered inside the void at that moment, he felt a sense of helplessness dawn over him. What's stopping you from joining the others? I don't get it. I don't know how. This body isn't letting me, just like the last time. Just cough it up. You're sick, aren't you? You need to accept that. And learn to trust yourself. I guess you're right. Even if I try to ignore it. So cough it up, quick. They're almost here. Coughs. There was something stuck in his throat. Coughs more. He puked. And out came himself. Just like that time all those years ago. Thank you, Axie. And almost immediately, he could feel his body starting to disassemble itself. Instead of fighting the darkness, he decided to try and embrace it. But before I leave, I know you. You want us to do one last somersault, don't you? He tried, but his body was in the process of leaving. And aside from all that, he was too weak right now. Then I'll just have to do one for you, won't I? That's what family's for. Axie smiled. He would listen to his gut. If I can't do a somersault now, then this must not be the end. Let me do one for you. It's the least I could do.